Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing 5 family-friendly and/or gateway games. These are all family-friendly, to be clear, but I do think 2 of them specifically, maybe 3, depends on how you count them. Some are a little bit more gateway-leaning than family-friendly. I think Hifi is very gateway-friendly, also family-friendly. I think Horrified is another one that's kind of like, in that middle zone. Either way, 5 family-friendly / gateway-friendly games. We're going to start off with the one that's kind of set up over here because while I will not be showing you all of the components today, I'll be telling you the general idea of how the game plays and my thoughts on it. I do think this is one you kind of need to see what's going on. It's the entire pitch of the game. This is Dodo, the first game we'll be covering from Cosmos, and Dodo has a fun little pitch where you are letting that ball, that guy falls off a lot, you are letting this ball fall out, and you're like, Alex, you need to give it a little nudge. No, you don't. This ball was slowly tumbled down the mountain. I'm just gonna go ahead, actually I'll probably teach you how to play the game in the meantime. So basically what you're going to be doing is, let's wait for it to fall. Let's wait for it to fall. There, come on, and there we go. It's a little bit of a brush there, then it slows down. This ball is slowly going to move the mountain unless sometimes it can get stuck, in which case a little bit of a nudge or whatever can push it, but usually it's moving fine. Now along the way, you're trying to actually build all these ramps along the mountain. So you're going to roll the dice, and whatever you get, you have to draw from a face-down set of materials. The ball is slowly rolling down. It's about to hit the next lane. It's going to, and then a little bit of a little off camera there. It's still moving, finds its little pathway. This is a slow wobbling ball, and along the way you're trying to build the pathway down as well as constructing the final boat at the end. It's a bunch of face down tokens, so there's a little bit of a memory aspect. When you draw the wrong token, if you need nails and you don't draw nails, you put that token down and then draw another token. Meanwhile, this ball is still slowly tumbling around the mountain. I should note, by the way, you start with this first one up here. You don't start with this other one, so let me just go ahead and move this on. This might adjust the ball a little bit, but you can see, oh look, it's still going, still slowly moving, very, very slowly. But these 2 would have had to been assembled, and you're just trying to stay ahead of the game. It comes with a small difficulty modification to the game, so you can adjust it in case you need a little bit, more of a challenge, or you can just play it as a very, very easy game on the basic mode. But it's basically about a slow tumbling ball. That's the entire pitch of the game. Dodo's fine. My main problem with Dodo, because other than that, this game has a cute little hook to the game. The hook is the slow tumbling ball, which gets everyone intrigued whenever I pull it out, because you're like, the ball's moving, so we have a timer. It feels like the timer should be a very short timer, but it's not a very short timer. What's going on with that? That's a very weird aspect, and it hooks people in every single time. Here's where the game loses me, because the general premise of it is it's a fun little quirky game with a gimmick that is a fun cooperative experience. Except you have to set it up every single time. This mountain is a pain to assemble. You have to put these in every single time you're trying to build it, which means it's way too much investment to get the game to the point that I want to play it. Which means this is kind of I pull it out when the kids want to ask for it, but I don't ever ask for it myself because I'd rather play other games that do similar things with less setup time. If you ever played Dragon Tower, very similar concept as far as the general cooperative nature of things. Very similar concept even in the memory aspect of things, and just a whole lot less setup, although there still is setup for it. So Dodo, I'm going to rate I'm not the target audience out of 5. It's a weird thing because the game itself is fine. As far as, I'm not loving the game because it's very much a gimmick, but in terms of who the target audience is and the fun I have playing with my family, that's great. The setup time really, really detracts from that. So maybe a 2 out of 5 because of that combination of setup and then not a particularly rewarding experience. At the end of it, more of a gimmick. So it's fun. Definitely recommend giving it a shot if you have a chance to. Not as sure if I recommend necessarily owning it. From there, and I will say sometimes I do these videos in order from least to most favorite, but I'm not necessarily going to do that today. I say not necessarily because I'm just going to grab the boxes, and if it happens to work out that way, it happens to work out that way. To that end, let's go ahead and grab the next box. We have Treasure Hunters, Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters. This is the newest version of the game from Mattel, and Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters is a cooperative game, another cooperative game over here. We have actually, I think 3 of the 5 are co-op today. This is another cooperative game of trying to gather treasure from this house. You have the various Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters that will be moving into the house. You roll a die every turn, which will spawn ghosts, as well as determine how much movement you have as you wander along the hallways and through rooms. You're trying to make sure there aren't ever 3 ghosts in a room, because then the room will be haunted, which will slow you down, and you're trying to gather the treasures and make your way out, and if you play on the advanced mode, which I so recommend, I think it's a better version of the game. Honestly, if you're playing with really young kids, the basic mode's great. If you're playing with kids who have played any kind of cooperative games before, I think going straight to the advanced mode is worth it. Then you have to get the treasures out in sequential order. Along the way, you're fighting ghosts, you're de-haunting rooms, and just trying to stay ahead of the ghosts over there. Past that, there's also a one versus many variant where one player takes control of the house. That's how it could be a 2 to 5 player game. Basic game is a 2 to 4 player game. You could play it solo, by the way. It doesn't say solo on the box, but you 100% could just play it solo by controlling multiple hunters. Although technically you have to control all 4 hunters, because a 2-hunter game, you actually control 2 hunters each. But nonetheless, it works. It's a totally fine experience. I don't think it's bad at all. But overall, this game is definitely on the lighter side, which is why I recommend for most builds jumping straight into the advanced mode. But I think that the charm of the game, first of all, the components are top-notch, the colors are vibrant, the gameplay is pretty basic. The 1 versus all, don't know if I'd bother with that personally, but if you really want to mix it up and you have 5 people, you certainly can do so at the cost of some additional complexity that I don't think is overall worth it. But overall, this to me is a 3.5 out of 5, with the caveat of being based on the target audience. I have played better cooperative games, but when I'm thinking of a game that I'm both happy to play with my kids, while also feeling strategic enough that it's engaging, I'd say the advanced mode of this, for me, an easy 3.5 out of 5. From there, we're going to go to Hifi. Hifi is from Smirk and Dagger, and honestly, if I showed you the whole thing over here with Dodo, I should be fair and show you this, because this also has a semi-gimmick nature to it, because you have a turntable set up over here. So we have a turntable. I'll show you the front and back. Basically, you got your turntable. You can see this over here, and this is going to be your dial as you select the various actions and then mark which action you're taking. So this is your action indicator on this box turned into a turntable, and a rule book that looks like a Rolling Stones magazine. That's just the gimmick aspect of the setup. The game itself is all about gathering cards and placing them down into your, I don't even know what you call it, the board where you're assembling these soundtracks. But you're trying to place cards down in different ways, both to fulfill various goals you have, because you have different goals you're trying to achieve, both in-game and end-game goals. But then you also have the cards you're placing down have various bonuses they're going to get you if you can place them down in the right spots, fulfilling one or more different bonus conditions. So there's a lot going on as you try to build things up in a way that you're going to be able to cash in on a whole lot of points, but also being aware that everything you do is setting up other players for their own moves, because this is not a cooperative game. You are thematically working together to build this record label or whatnot, but ultimately it comes down to trying to manage your action economy and take the right actions and then build out the soundtracks in the way that earns you the most points. There's like some degree of shared point scoring. There's some degree of trying to get in early with the various knobs you place in order so the fact that as players play certain genres, you get points for it as well. You're basically managing a lot of card play in order to ultimately be the player with the most points at the end of the game. For me, I think Hifi has a nice gimmick to it. I love the box, I love the Rolling Stones rules, but outside of that, and the gameplay itself is pretty simple, and there's also an advanced mode. It's another game that has an advanced mode. I think the advanced mode to me felt more just like variety, but I still like that. But I don't think you need to play the advanced mode the first time round, because it's primarily more variety to the various bonus actions you're going to be getting. I will say I found the rulebook to be very, very unclear. For a game that's as simple as it is, I struggled through that rulebook, and I think when it comes to rules, I respect the fact that sometimes a game with enough complexity is going to take a complicated rulebook that you're going to have to break your teeth on. And other games shouldn't. And in the case of Hifi, I think it shouldn't, but I think the rules were definitely an additional barrier to getting towards the game. And I think it did bias my opinion of the game, because I felt like I really had to work through a set of rules to get to what is ultimately a fairly light action selection game with point scoring variability. Ultimately, the music theme doesn't do it for me as well, so ultimately I'm coming in at a 3 out of 5. I think there's what to enjoy here, particularly if you do like music as a theme and you get a little bit more out of the experience. For me, there's many games that try to min-max that point optimization, and between the rules and the theme that doesn't pull me in, I think this one just ranked a little bit lower for me, so a 3 out of 5. Then we have Marbleous from another Cosmos game. This was not planned. I only just realized there's 2 Cosmos games in this video. Marbleous, another Cosmos game. Marbleous is a marble game. It's basically a game of trying to gather marbles into your personal trays. You can have these trays over here. Every turn you select a card and you put those into your tray based on the orientation rotation of the card. So I can flip this, so I can place a blue, a red, and a purple, or you can flip it on its side, so I can place them all down in one column. But as you create chains of the same color, you will look to see what size chain and what color. So for example, if I created a chain of 4 reds touching each other, I would look at the 4 and then the red and say, look at that, I'm getting that bonus points over there. Additionally, you can get extra cards over here for this extra token chips. For getting chains of 4 or 5, you'll get additional bonuses as well as the cards. And then as you go through these blue cards, the yellow cards will start filtering in from the top, which means early game there's a little less incentive to go for the big combos, but as you move to the higher scoring cards, there's lots of incentive to go for those big scoring combos. The real fun of the game, and again also has an advanced mode, the real fun of the game comes when you start creating these daisy chaining pop-offs, because if I create a chain of 4 red, I remove them from my pool, which means other things fall into place, which might create cascading chains, which first of all gives you more points for a single action, but also, and more importantly, if you play with the advanced mode, which again I do recommend, you will get points for whenever you scored multiple things in one turn, giving you an additional incentive to try to specifically puzzle your way towards those, as opposed to letting them happen naturally, which I do find doesn't happen as much as you would think unless you are playing with that advanced mode. Ultimately, box on the side of here, ultimately, Marbleous is a fun game of marbles and gathering marbles and watching them all cascade and combo, but it's also just okay. I feel it builds off of what Potion Explosion did, but Potion Explosion to me felt like a better overall experience that had more combos and just more going on to the overall experience. This feels like it's cashing in on that idea, but with less of a game behind it. I enjoyed it, I had fun with it, but it's going to be a 3 out of 5. And then lastly, we have Horrified Greek Monsters, which is not the newest Horrified at this point. I think they announced a D&D at this point, but they have Horrified, they have Horrified American Monsters, which I actually never played American Monsters, and then they have Horrified Greek Monsters. Fun fact, Horrified is one of the first reviews I ever did on this channel when I first started filming videos. Not a very great review in my opinion, but nonetheless, it's there. It's there if you want to check that out. But Horrified Greek Monsters, I'll start by saying that if you've played Horrified, I think the only thing that really makes this different from a larger standpoint is going to be the theme. The gameplay is mostly identical. I say mostly identical because it's been a very long time since I played Horrified, and so I don't remember if there was something that was different. I will say that when playing Horrified Greek Monsters, it felt very similar to the original as far as the basic idea. The basic idea is you have this board over here, you are trying to ultimately defeat the monsters depending on the level of difficulty, either between 2 or 4 monsters. Honestly, I don't see a reason why you can't play with all 6 monsters. There's only 6 monsters in the box, but nonetheless, the difficulty scaling is 2, 3, or 4 for easy, medium, or hard. That said, hard is plenty of a challenge. I don't think you need to go to 5 or 6 monsters. In any case, back to the game, you're trying to defeat these monsters. Each monster has a separate way that they operate, and one of the nice things about the monsters in this one, and very thematic to the Greek nature of things, is they all have kind of a puzzle. So you have to have this challenge of how you have to like break them open, and then you can defeat them. So just to give you one example, Cerberus over here is going to have 5 doors that you have to open, and once you've opened those 5 doors, then you can start spending time trying to chase him back through those doors to get rid of him. But every monster has a different set of challenges of both what their puzzle is as well as how to defeat them. Ultimately, your core actions are going to be moving around the board, trying to stay away from the monsters who are slowly escalating the terror track, who are also trying to get in the way of the, oh my gosh, what are they called? Saints? Not called Saints. Legacies? Something like that. I think they're called Legacies, whatever they're called. But these kind of think of them as civilians on the board that you want to try to rescue them to get cards from them. And also when the monsters attack you and or them, the terror track will slowly be moving up. So you're trying to avoid the terror track going too far up while trying to stay in control and gathering items. So it's a typical cooperative game. You do your turn, the monsters do their turn. Your turn mostly consists of getting items and trying to stay alive, and then eventually cashing in those items to confront the monsters' challenges and eventually take them out. Overall, I've always enjoyed Horrified. Again, I haven't played American Monsters. I probably should, but I don't know if I need to because I think Greek Monsters is my personal favorite of them. Although with the caveat that I don't mean the game is significantly better. I don't think it is. I've always liked Horrified. I think it's a lot of fun in that cooperative nature of what you're doing. But I do think Greek Monsters, from a thematic standpoint, it's my favorite thematically. I just like as opposed to like the modern or American, sorry, not modern, more, you have standard Dracula, Frankenstein, all of that in the original. Then you have like American monsters, like I can't remember like the Swamp Thing, things like that. I don't remember what's in that one because I never played that one. But then you have the Greek monsters, which to me thematically, I just like the Greek theme so much better. So to me, this takes a already good game and puts a better theme on top of it. And I love the sense of accomplishing a monster's challenge and then facing it off, which again is not that dissimilar to the original, but just feels good. I don't know. I'm a sucker for the Greek theme, I think is the main point here. Ultimately, I like Horrified a lot. It isn't my favorite in the terms of the co-op genre. I do find it's a little One of the things I really enjoy about the game is the combinations of monsters and the way different combos of monsters will have you doing different challenges. But I do find that the original Horrified, definitely as I played it more, it felt like I had seen more of what the game has to offer. When you contrast it with a game system like Pandemic, this one feels a little bit more random and a little bit less, planning and predictable, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that I play this more for the experience of working with my friends and or family and just trying to get things done, and I play a little less for like the feeling of how clever I can be. Like when I think of games like The Loop or Pandemic, there's more cleverness either to the design or what I can do on my turn, and this one feels a bit more straightforward. You take a number of actions, you move around, you gather items, you face off against the monsters. There's not a lot of room for particularly clever play, it's just survival-based play. Again, I still like it, and this is my favorite theme. It's going to come in at a 3.5 out of 5. And that is your 5 family-friendly / gateway little reviews over here. We got Hifi coming in at a 3 out of 5. I think it could be a bit more, but some small things held it back for me. Dodo, where I don't mind the game. I think it's a very cute gimmick, but way too much work putting it together, such that I just don't want to put it together. We have Ghost, well, again, the first play was great. First play is like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Second play is like, oh, I'm building this tower again so that we can do the same memory thing again. Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters, pretty charming. I think it's a nice, light, simple game that is accessible at a variety of age ranges. Definitely, I think this one leans more towards the younger, though. I wouldn't play this one with my game group. I would play this with gateway gamers and family. Horrified Greek Monsters, I'd play this with my game group, and I'd play with my family. I think I do find a bit more bias towards playing with my family. And then Marbleous, which is not bad, but overall I think Marbleous is just outshined by other games that do that particular gimmick a bit better. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.